All right, you guys, so this video here is going to be talking about Blackboard. We'll be using Blackboard for everything. It's going to be your best friend. So let's go through it. It's very basic. There's nothing that's surprising about it. It contains all the information you need to understand our course. And if you ever feel like you find something that you're not really sure about or is unclear, what do? Well, you reach out. And you can reach out by sending me an email. You can reach out by sending me a text message, giving me a call, or scheduling a meeting. Or, there's another one, coming into office hours. I know people get nervous about office hours, but you shouldn't be nervous because really that means I just sit there twiddling my thumbs hoping that someone is going to come and save me from whatever it is that I'm grading. So come and save me if you have any questions, or reach out to me in one of the other ways as well. Okay, I'm happy to help in any of those avenues. So just reach out, ask questions. That's the big thing. If you have a question, ask it. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask, okay? So now we're in our Blackboard course here. You can see on the left-hand side, we've got our homepage, we have announcements, start here, calendar, and my grades. Those are kind of the big overarching course things, right? So if we go into announcements, right now you'll see that there's only the one kind of pre-created announcement, and that's because I wanted to wait until this video was posted to tell you, hey, here's all your stuff, right? I wanted to make sure that we got this nice and fresh, that I recorded a new video right at the start of term, so you know what I look like, you know how like my personality is right in this moment, and you know you have access to everything you need. Okay, so I wanted to wait on that. Now, we have our Start Here tab. Start Here is great because it gives us a bunch of stuff. Okay, really, I mean, that's the technical term for it. A bunch of stuff. So right at the top, we have the syllabus. That is the most important thing on this page. Now, why, you ask? Well, why do you think teachers and professors wear t-shirts under their dress shirts that say, it's in the syllabus? Because most of the things in terms of what you're required to do are in there, right? If something goes wrong with your internet, what happens? Oh, we check the syllabus. If something goes wrong with your with Blackboard, what do? Oh, check the syllabus, right? So you want to make sure that you do that. And the place to do that is in instructor policies, right? You click this, you should have already looked at it. In a new tab, it opens up, hey, the syllabus. Okay, so you can see everything, right? Course weights, you can see how I'm grading things, you can see, hey, there's optional assignments in this class, which people always ask about, why would you do an optional assignment? Comments. Comments are currency in this kind of classroom environment. I don't ever get to see you, I don't ever really get to have a conversation with you unless you reach out. So the way that we do that is through comments. So, you know, doing an optional assignment means you get more comments. You get individually tailored comments to help make your writing, your analysis, your research stronger and better. And that's ultimately what we're here trying to do, right? If you're not sure how to submit something or what format, hey, it's in the syllabus. I have a final draft revision policy. What is that? In the syllabus. Attendance policy? Does Gwinnett Tech have one? No, not really. It's in the syllabus. You know, everything that we need, everything that governs our class is in the syllabus. The syllabus is like our Magna Carta, okay? And it's old enough that I can say that because it doesn't really govern anything anymore, right? The syllabus is like our Magna Carta. So now that we've talked about that, make sure you check the syllabus for anything that you might need before you reach out to me. Because, I mean, I get emails like 3 times a week asking me about things that are on the syllabus. So if you could figure it out on your own, then you wouldn't have to wait for me to respond. So check the syllabus. All right, we've got other things in here. The textbook, we really won't be using that, but I left it in case you wanted to reach out and do more literature stuff, right? This kind of helps you with your analysis, so it's a good resource. I prefer to learn by experience, so that's kind of how we're going to roll. But, you know, we have that there if you want to see it on paper, right? It goes through the processes of research and things like that. So know that that's available. Our MLA handbook is here. It's also linked right there. So just know that you can get to it from this menu to the left. Now, I will say MLA updated since you've been sitting in class. On April 22nd, they rolled out MLA 9th edition. Did they make changes? Yeah, they made changes. Okay, most of the changes are to in-text citations, right? What they're now calling parenthetical citations, like full-time. So just know that, if you're citing something, you really want to check out the MLA handbook in that menu to the left, right? And so you could click here or you could click here. And both of them will pull up a PDF version that is clickable. How exciting is that? Return to the table of contents. Right? How awesome. How awesome. I'm very excited about this because it gives you everything you need to know about formatting stuff, right? How do you format quotations? Well, what kind of quotation? Short quotation, long quotation? Little reminder, your teacher may not accept long quotations. Do I accept long quotations? Not really. Okay, it would be a certain type of situation that you would need one. Because really, as you'll see in the sample, you can do really good literary analysis with tiny snippets of sentences. That's a good way to go. And then it also means that your analysis is linked directly to the exact part of your source that you want to work with. Okay, so, just kind of keep that in mind, right? Things like introducing quotations. You mean you can't just start a quotation at the beginning of a sentence? No, you can't. Check out how to introduce it in the handbook. Okay, if you ever wanted to make a change to a quotation, can you do that? Yeah, you can. Check out brackets. All right, the new parts of the MLA handbook, there's kind of things here and there, but the big thing is 4.1e, placement of parenthetical citations. Because guess what? If you were one of those people who thought, well, why are my citations always at the end of a sentence when I'm quoting something or paraphrasing something at the beginning? You'll be happy because now you can place the parenthetical citation right after your quotation or paraphrase. All right, if that is necessary. Okay, and check out the section to see exactly why. As you can see, I'm very big on providing you with materials that you then go and learn from. Okay, I've created all of these materials for you, so make sure that you use them. Otherwise, the 120 hours I put into creating and updating this MLA handbook are going to be like for nothing. So don't do that to me. Help me out, okay? If you forget how to format an essay document, cool, there's a section for that. If you forget how to create and format a works cited page, section for that. Oof, this thing talks about everything. Using Galileo, how do you do that? There's a section for that. Types of sources. We're working with scholarly sources, so you have to know that popular sources are a thing and scholarly sources are a thing. How do you tell the difference? We should have talked about this in 1101, but if you didn't, it's in here. Okay? Creating works cited citations and parenthetical citations. That's in there too? Yeah, it is. Okay, so everything is in there broken down in the different types that you need. So don't forget this resource exists. Okay? Make sure you check it. If you still have questions, I broke it down to as basic as possible with the tools that we most likely would need. So make sure you use this first. If you still have a question, then come to me. Okay? And it's not because I don't want to help you. It's because sometimes when you go and look things up on your own, you actually learn more. All right? So let's pop back to our little start here section. There's free writing tutoring. Awesome. The Tutoring Center is doing some major updates and they're great. So make sure that you utilize them. Just make sure that you have access to your assignment requirements and rubrics as you go to see them. Because guess what? They need to see those, right? To make sure that you're writing the right kind of assignment. There's also library help. Check that out. Student resources, more generally. There's some links in there. And then accessibility and privacy statements. Also, if you need to brush up on internet etiquette, also called netiquette, which I kind of like that sort of crushed term, you've got guidelines for the online classroom. It's basically like, don't treat this like Twitter where people yell at each other all the time. This is a constructive space that's meant to make you think. Okay, so make sure that you think of that as you are creating your discussion board posts and your response posts. More on that later. All right, so we finished start here. So our calendar right now updates for the first unit because that's all that is visible to you at this exact moment. But once we get closer to unit 2, then you'll start seeing more content and the calendar will populate. Okay, my grades, make sure you check that pretty often. Make sure nothing looks wonky. Sometimes, even though I double check everything, I occasionally will transpose a number and not see it. So it's your responsibility to let me know if something looks wonky in my grades. Okay, check that out. That's also where you'll view feedback from me, and you will also be able to see your grades. All right, lessons. Here is the real meat and potatoes. That sounded super Southern. I'm not from the South. This is the real meat and potatoes, the lessons folder. All right, right now, as you can see, like I said before, we just have Unit 1, and then we have the MLA workshop created by the library. If you need any sort of refresher, use that MLA workshop, okay? It doesn't take long, and it'll just remind you of what you need to do. So please make sure that you utilize the tools that you have before you find yourself struggling, okay? Now, let's get into Unit 1, Short Stories and Literary Analysis, Essay 1. Yep, you're right. That does imply multiple literary analysis essays, and we have 3. How cool is that? So let's see what this is doing. You can see right off the bat that this is working through weeks 1 through 3. We do have a little bit of a dummy week in here, and not dummy like stupid, dummy like, it's a little bit more chill, okay? And that's because I don't like to start out with overloading you with things and then making you feel like this class is going to be unmanageable. Because is it a lot of work? Absolutely. But really, if you break it down and allot yourself enough time, you'll be fine. Okay? So, goals for the week. Introductions. How to use Blackboard. Hey, we're doing that right now. Essay 1, assignment requirements. There'll be another video about that in just a little bit. And then we have the assignments that are due. Okay? We have 3 things due this week. The first is the class meeting day/time survey, and that's basically me asking you when you're available to meet for a class session, okay? And what I'll do is in that survey, I ask you to choose 2 times that you would be most likely available to meet. The reason for that meeting, right? Why are we even meeting? Is because I want us to be able to practice analysis together. Analysis isn't just something that you just like poof magically know how to do. Okay, which is why online 1102 and above is actually really hard in a sense because we don't have that, kind of back and forth that you would have in a classroom. We do a little bit with the discussion posts, but those need to be done correctly to be successful. So, you really want to make sure that you're able to attend the class sessions if at all possible, okay? So choose the times that you would be most likely able to attend. We also have a welcome quiz. If you do not submit the welcome quiz by the 28th, you will be marked as a no-show. So please, please, please make sure you submit, okay? That is me begging. It's as close to begging as you'll see. So just make sure that you do that because, it's a lot of paperwork for you. It's none for me, but it's a lot of paperwork for you if you end up being marked as a no-show because you didn't complete the welcome quiz and you actually want to be enrolled in this course, okay? The other thing we have to do this week is the Essay 1 primary source selection and brainstorm due on 5:30. What? We have a big assignment? It's not that big, okay? But it is related to Essay 1. And it does require you to actually read Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour before our class session next week, which you'll see listed in just a second. So make sure you take a look at the story. It's only 2 pages long, so it's not a huge amount. And basically, let's scroll down and see what that assignment is. All right, here it is. Well, we've got a sample attached, which is awesome. It's always nice to have a sample. And for this assignment, please submit a doc or docx file formatted in MLA with a proper header and heading that indicates your chosen primary source for Essay 1, and 2 to 3 sentences indicating an argument that you may develop through research and analysis. You read the story, you come up with an idea about it that's not obviously developed in the story, right? And you'll be able to see this a little bit more once you read because we can read into things. And we can say, oh, well, Mrs. Mallard, who is the protagonist of The Story of an Hour, feels X, Y, and Z things. And then you say, well, how do I even know that? They don't say that in the story. And the reason that you know is because there's little subtle hints, little clues that are mentioned. And now you've just done some literary analysis, right? It's really cool. So that's basically what we're trying to do. Now, just remember that this chosen primary source is going to be Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour. The reason for that is we haven't read anything else yet. And I can't say, hey, read all the stuff, figure out what you want to write on. It's just easier, trust me, especially as you're trying to get your feet wet and see what each of these smaller assignments are that build to the larger ones, if you kind of work through them on a gradual level, right? And working through them together means that you can see how other people are doing it in terms of peer review, things like that. So it gives us a really great springboard for future assignments. Okay. All right. So week 2, this is more like what the rest of the class is going to look like, right? So we have readings that will be discussed in class. Okay. Those readings are going to be a primary source and a secondary source. Okay. That's for each of the in-class and discussion board readings. Now, the primary source this time around is Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour, right? That shouldn't be a surprise. I've said it enough times. And then the secondary source is going to be Lawrence L. Burkove's Fatal Self-Assertion in Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour. All right, so the reason that I chose this source first time around is because he's really easy to disagree with. And a lot of people don't feel like you can disagree with an expert who wrote an article and got it published. Oh my goodness, how do I do that? You just do. It's okay. It's okay to say that you don't believe that this person's argument is validated by the story, or that this part of their argument is not validated by the story, or that they've left out certain pieces of evidence that challenge their argument. That's why I go with Burkove. Now, is it well written? Yeah. Does it back up his points? Yeah. Right? Is that ultimately an analysis that someone could make? Yes. But it also gives us a really unique opportunity because as you read it, you might notice that you want to throw it against the wall. I did the first time I read it, and I was like, I need to use this in class. Just for that reason, right? Give yourself the opportunity to disagree if you want to. If you're in agreement with Burkove, okay, that's fine, right? If you feel like you did a good job, cool, okay? That's the beauty of research, being able to push against another source's ideas, or being able to agree with them in part and not another part, figuring out how their ideas meld with yours and how together you could advance a point. Okay, and that's why each class session will be working with a primary source and a secondary source. Now, for the first discussion board, you'll also see that, hey, we're reading a primary source and a secondary source too. The primary source is William Faulkner's A Rose for Emily. Awesome. And then the secondary source is on A Rose for Emily, right? It's Sura M. Crace's An Eyesore Among Eyesores, The Significance of Physical Setting in Faulkner's A Rose for Emily. All right, so again, what you would do in those discussion posts is use the same kind of analysis that we would be talking about in class. The discussion boards provide you with some questions. It provides you with guidelines that you can do or that you have to follow. And you just answer the questions with evidence from both the primary and secondary sources. Right? It's the same thing we're doing in class in conversation, just online. Okay? So, you really want to keep that in mind and keep that thought that you're practicing your analytical skills. Okay? Now, of course, we have other assignments as well. We have our thesis statement, and we have our optional Essay 1 outline due on the same day as the initial post. I tried my best to spread things out, but because of the short length of time that we have together and because of the way holidays fell this year, it really made it difficult to make sure that there was absolutely no doubling up. Okay, as it is, I cut a few assignments that I typically assign, and I cut quite a few readings. So, just kind of, you might feel like this is overwhelming, but please know that I really did struggle to make sure that this was not as overwhelming as it could have been. Okay, so I apologize that some days are a little bit doubled up. But hopefully this kind of walk through Unit 1 has helped you understand exactly how you can use Blackboard to submit your assignments, to see what's coming up. Just remember one thing, right? With these readings to be discussed in class, you want to have read them before class and then bring a copy of them somehow, whether that is on your phone, if you pull it up on your computer, if you want to print them out. I print them out because I'm an old school nerd, but whatever it is that you want to do. Okay, just make sure you have access, because if you say a point, I'm going to ask you what page is that on. So you need to be able to have access to that material. Okay, there's one other thing that I want to point out. If you look at this left-hand menu again and you come down here, you'll see office hours, right? Right now, Monday, Tuesday, 11 a.m. to noon. Also in person, 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. I'm probably changing those. That's too early for you guys. And also adjusting my online office hours, so that way you're not feeling like, oh my goodness, I have to get up at 6:30 for 2 of those hours, right? No, because you can also view them online as well. You also have schedule a meeting, and then text or call me at 865-657-8019. Okay, so you can definitely do that as well. Or text and call me. I blurred out the phone number because I don't want telemarketer calls to my Google Voice for School account. But you can go on Blackboard and see what that is exactly. All right, so the other thing that will be here once I get the results of the survey is going to be a link to our class session. All right, and to get to them, all you have to do is click. Right now, this is probably going to tell me that we don't have any instances. Yeah, so there's no occurrences. But if you go to click into it at a time when it's set up to accept you, then you'll be able to get in. All you'll need to do is tell it your name and use your real name. I don't need Skater Kid 76 because I'm not going to know who you are. Use your real name, and then that way we can interact and I can know who you are. Okay? So that is really the big thing when it comes to Blackboard, right? How to navigate it, what you're seeing. It's mostly all the content is in that lessons folder, and then those big overarching things up here. Use the MLA handbook as needed, and then all the ways to contact me down at the bottom. Okay? And of course, don't forget you can always email as well. So if you need anything, let me know. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in another video. All right? Bye, guys.